Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again. Thanks for stopping by, and just remember, if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, feel free to take a look at some of my other videos if you like. You can find them all in playlists in the description down below. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to take a look at the future of the modern era first-person shooter, because with the announcement of BF1, it's not so certain anymore. And that's because Battlefield, which is really the last bastion of modern era AAA shooters, is now going back in time to World War I. Meanwhile, Call of Duty is continuing to go even further into the future, along with most of the new FPS franchises hitting the scene at the moment. And whether you think this is a good or a bad thing, if you're a fan of games like Battlefield 4, then I'd say, like me, you're probably feeling a little bit disappointed. So what hope is there for this subgenre, and will it manage to survive in the wake of these franchises? Well, I guess only time will tell, but don't worry too much yet because there is still light at the end of the tunnel. Even though I'm not really a huge fan, you can jump in and play games like Rainbow Six Siege right now, which is going strong 6 months after launch. And as you'll see from this video, at least for the next year or so, even if they aren't Battlefield games, there will be a bunch of new releases to keep us all happy. Now, to kick off, the first release I'm really keen to try out later this year is the upcoming Apex expansion for Arma 3. And with that, you might be thinking, hang on, Arma 3 isn't exactly a new game, but you see, DLC for Arma doesn't really work the way it does with other shooters. This game is always evolving, and it's driven by a massive community of content creators, meaning every update makes it feel like a new game. And Apex is one of the biggest updates released for the game so far, boasting new features like the massive Tanoa Island, new vehicles, and a host of visual, audio, and gameplay improvements. Now, speaking of updates, well, as you probably know, late last year, Squad, the spiritual successor to Project Reality, was made available for early access on Steam. And in that time, it's already built up a loyal fan base despite missing a lot of the core features that'll make it a masterpiece when it finally comes out. Squad is currently being updated on a monthly basis, and apparently the implementation of vehicles is just around the corner. So bearing this in mind, I think it's safe to say if you're a fan of large-scale FPS games, there should be enough coming out for Squad in the next year or so to keep you playing for quite some time. Now, coming in next on the list is the brand new survival FPS game Escape from Tarkov, which is set to be released later this year. And just by that description alone, it's easy to compare it to other similar games like DayZ, but from all accounts it promises to be an amazing and unique new game. Like DayZ, it is going to be a hardcore style survival MMO, but it will also feature story-driven missions as well as RPG elements. And after the story is completed, the player will then be able to free roam in a giant sandbox style map where they'll have the option of befriending or doing battle with other players. Now, so far we've talked about some pretty hardcore games, and to be honest, if you're a fan of BF4, you might prefer something a bit more arcadey. And as far as arcade shooters go, well, you really can't get much better than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, which has been remastered to release alongside Infinite Warfare this November. With that being said though, this in itself is probably the biggest catch because most people, from what I can tell, don't really want to buy Infinite Warfare just for Modern Warfare 1. But if you do want to revisit the golden age of Call of Duty in high definition with this classic game, then at least you'll have the option later this year. But finally, the last game I want to mention on this list, and probably the game we know the least about, is Insurgency Sandstorm, coming out in 2017. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this franchise, well, it's a hardcore style team-based shooter for the PC, which has a lot in common with BF4. It's got objective-based game modes, a class system, a ton of weapon customization, and most importantly, a very similar playstyle. So in the absence of a new modern era Battlefield game, then I think a new Insurgency is probably the next best thing, and best of all, this time it's going to be available on consoles as well. So all in all, to finish up, I think you can see that there is quite a bit coming out for modern era fans, even if it's not from the big name franchises. As for whether it's going to be enough to keep the subgenre going though, well, I think that's probably too close to call yet. The biggest problem I can see is that most of these games are for the PC, and like I said, they definitely appeal to a more hardcore audience. But in saying that, even though these games can't really replace BF4, they do give me a bit of hope, and I am very keen to see what they have in store. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video, so let me know what you think in the comment section below, and as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see any more of my videos, or if you want to support my channel on Patreon, and until next time, see you later, and have a good one.